Okay, now let's get some reaction to what Panyaza Lesufi had to say from OUTA. He, in fact, did mention OUTA when he made his remarks earlier or responding to questions from my colleague Heidi Jokos. Advocate Stephanie Fick from OUTA joining us now. So first up, an overriding question. What do you make? What was your impression about what Panyaza Lesufi, as the Premier, had to say today about the way forward regarding the scrapping of e-tolls?
Well, I think firstly he gave us, again, some very good news that they will not use the e-toll scheme to fund the 30% that is supposed to come from Gauteng local provincial government. And what was also good news is that he said he will consult with all role players, that will include society, to find a way forward, to find a finance model in order to pay for this debt. What one also could take from this is that there is, again, I think elation that the fact that it's the end of e-tolls. Although the scheme has been dead for a while, it is definitely the end of e-tolls, but there are some, practicalities and some technicalities that still need to be dealt with.
Your first part of your answer, I couldn't hear you here in the studio. If I'm repeating a question, if you've answered the question I'm going to have now, I'm hoping not. It's what, 46 billion rand. 46 billion rand is a total debt, according to government. That was the amount of money that was mentioned by government in March. But if that's the amount, 30% is pretty much clear how much that would be. I wonder what kind of details Panyaza Lesufi believe they still have to work out.
Well, we agree with Premier Lesufi in the sense that, we aren't necessarily in agreement that the outstanding debt for the GFIP is around 43%. And here is why. The capital cost for this upgrade in 2012 was around 20.6 billion rand. And then and the long-term bonds were declared at 28.4 billion rand. Now we know Treasury also already allocated 22.4 billion rand. So where on earth does this 43 billion rand come from? Even if Sunroll did not pay 1 cent towards this debt and signed a contract for 10% interest, the most you get to 33 billion. So, we agree with Lesufi that, they need there needs to be clarity with regards to Sunroll's debt and how they get to it. And then from there, calculate what is the 30%.
So transparency here is going to be very important.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, now he says there's also other processes like consulting with the likes of yourselves as OUTA, among other civil society organizations, plus, of course, talking to the departments of transport, because SANRAL falls under that, and, of course, National Treasury as the ones who are now taking over the 70% of the debt. That process, he says, should conclude by the 31st of December, everybody, and then the gazetting would happen. Is that good enough for you?
Yes, I think where the confusion comes in is this question about, the people that already paid e-tolls, are they going to get their money back? What's going to happen to the debt? Should I pay my e-tolls? We all know that Sunroll is saying, but please pay your e-tolls. And Lesufi sort of hinted at that, you should pay your e-tolls until December. With a compliance rate of 17%, if the 17% wants to continue paying e-tolls until December, they are free to do so. Sunroll has decided in March of 2019 already to not go after e-toll debt. In other words, they stopped the summonses and, in other words, stopped collecting the debt in March of 2019 already. In other words, there's a long road ahead because, as we've now said and discussed, that there needs to be transparency. How a provincial government can maintain a national road is also a bit unclear, and I think Lesufi referred to that as well. So how can they maintain it? So yes, there's a lot of T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted. But can I just say this and repeat this, that this is definitely a win for civil society. You know, civil society that stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to pay for this unlawful scheme, and eventually government listened.
Okay.
And that this upgrade should have been paid out of this fiscus right from the start.
So victory for civil society standing up and pointing that out. But I just want to pick your brain, because when I've interviewed like Wayne Duvenage about this whole issue in the past, and I'm sure he said it on other platforms as well, is that OUTA has made proposals to say how can the roads, the national roads around Gauteng be funded or maintained, and how, whatever. So Lesufi saying earlier that part of the way forward is to come up with that model. And does OUTA have a particular model in mind that you could quickly share with us? Because he's not sure where that money is going to come from. Of course, once they've established exactly how much is the 30%, exactly how much is this 30%, and they've come up with a model, how do you then fund it through other alternative revenue streams? What are your thoughts as OUTA?
Let me just take you back. I think way in the beginning, and what is so sad, if they listened way in the beginning, we would have paid the debt. Then we wouldn't have had this argument. What we proposed then was the 10 cents on the levy, and what is so sad is that we know that the levy has increased more than 10 cents. I mean, it's past 2 rand. But be that as it may, that is now not, that's not a financing model. I don't think that will work. I think we honestly believe that they will find the money in the fiscus. In other words, that there is enough money in Gauteng provincial government in order to fund upgrades of our roads. We must remember, and I think we tend to forget this, that it's only the GFIP that was funded by this user pay scheme. 186 kilometers of 2,000 kilometers and more that Sunroll has and has to upgrade and look after. And you know what? Sunroll thought they were going to get 34% of their income from only 1% of their roads. So I think at this point we will definitely grab at the opportunity to discuss this with Lesufi. But I think that the answer will lie in what he already alluded to. You know, tap into the funds that is already allocated to Gauteng without taking away funding from other very crucial departments. Tap into, for example, your syntax, what do you call that, and take it from there. But I think the main point is, please let us just look at how much Sunroll debt is in actual fact, because I don't think it's fair that we now pay for Sunroll's whole debt. And saying that this is the GFIP upgrade.
There's going to be a lot of transparency there. Thank you very much for your time. Advocate Stephanie Fick, speaking on behalf of OUTA, one of the civil society organizations that has actively campaigned against e-tolls in Gauteng.